delay, had trouble connecting.
Nisha, you almost gave me a fright.
We were going to ask Prashant to teach us how to swim and talk about swimming. We could save it a lot. Hey, welcome, Nisha. Wonderful to see you.
Thank you.
Maybe start the meeting. I call this the 11th meeting of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment to order.
Hi, Nisha ma'am.
Hi,
everybody.
Hi, Ganesh.
I'm going to mute all of you for a few minutes. We're going to have a silent invocation. Let's observe 1 minute of silence for world peace. All of you, can you just observe 1 minute of silence? Thank you very much. Welcome to Rotary Bangalore Cantonment. So weekly meeting. This is the 11th meeting that we're having this year. Nisha, welcome to our club. I'm not sure whether you've been to our club before. Have you been a part of Rotary Cantonment before?
No, I haven't been to the club as yet.
Okay. You are a star personality. Everybody knows you. So I really literally no introduction needed. I've been a part of a Catholic club for many years, and so many people I know have been going through your academy and had wonderful experiences. Wonderful to have you today as our guest speaker. I'd like to welcome all the guests today. We have quite a few guests, but I would like to especially welcome our Rotaractors and Interactors. We have Rotaractors from SSMRV College, led by their president, Janvi. We have Rotaractors from St. Joseph's College. We have Interactors from Clarence. We have Interactors, I think, from LAMHS also. Wonderful to have so many youngsters. I'm sure all of you are fans of this guest of ours, Nisha Mille, and we're waiting. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions to ask. But wonderful to have all of you here. Welcome to Susan and CM Pai. And we also have, can we, anybody else's guests here? Can you just say a shout out, please? Say a big hello. Sunil is here. Sunil Bumralkar. Welcome. Anyway, great to have all of you here with us. I just wanted to quickly update you on a couple of things that's been happening. One is I'm very happy to say that we have got confirmed dates for Golfity from KGA. So 29th of October is Golfity. So that you all know is our biggest fundraiser, the biggest event of Rotary Bangalore Cantonment, and we're going to have a fantastic tournament. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of players come and participate. What's important is that we'd like to connect with as many CSR stroke sponsors so that we can raise sufficient money for all our projects that we do. I look forward to all your participation. We have just 49, I'm doing a countdown from now, it's 49 days to Golfity. Request all Rotarians and everybody to put your hands together and let's get some good fundraising for this, for Golfity. Quick update on a few things. You must have seen a few messages on WhatsApp. Whoever is active on WhatsApp, we had a visit to Nittur. We had a good 12 people going to Nittur. We met with the Nittur Club. We saw a couple of wonderful projects. We're going to help with one government school create a happy school by donating a lot of equipment there, benches and a few computers and a few other things we plan to do there. We also be going to start a self-help program, self-help group, help them with the home industry that they already have, and we're going to finance that home industry through a microfinance, and so that these 18 old ladies who are part of the home industry who make condiments like papads and things like that, help them to grow their business. Wonderful things that we're planning to do with them. I'm so delighted to be a part of these projects. Our scholarship program has started. We already, I think, given away close to 20-25 scholarship to students already. A lot more to come. I think the next few months we'll be sponsoring a lot more students. If there are any more students that any of you know, please send in the applications quickly to Ramesh and Cherian and Sushila and team so that we can close out on the scholarships program immediately. One other big thing is that we started the Bosch Bridge program. We signed up an MOU with the club, the Rotary Bangalore Junction. So Junction and us and Bosch together will be conducting soft skill training and caregivers programs for a lot of deserving students or children, so that they can get placed in good organizations. We already started a batch, and one more batch is starting soon. So this is a really wonderful program that we have started off. So these are the small things that's happening, good things that's happening, I would say, from RCBC perspective. I would like to call upon our club secretary, Nanda, to make the club announcements, please. Nanda?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Well, the president just elaborated on the various projects that we have commenced over the last week, and the phenomenal opportunities that we have to collaborate with the rural club, the Rotary Club of Nittur, under the Sahyoga program. So I would not like to touch further on these projects because enough has been said about it by the president, and I would like to restrict myself to the general announcements. The last weekly meeting was held on 2nd September, and we had a very interesting talk on the real estate scenario by Ram Chandnani, the MD of CB Richard Ellis. The third board meeting of the year was held on Sunday, the 5th September, and the meeting was followed by a lunch that was hosted by the immediate past president, Ravi Narasimhan and Anne Indrani. As far as birthdays and anniversary goes, our honorary member, Rotarian Parsarji, celebrates his birthday on the coming Wednesday, that is the 15th of September. Wishing him the very best of health and happiness. There are no Anne celebrating their birthday this week, and so also there are no wedding anniversaries being celebrated this week. So there's just one birthday boy amongst us this week, and so you all know where to head to if you want to join in the celebrations. As for the programs of the forthcoming week, the first Zone D board meeting is being held on this Sunday, the 12th September at Rotary House of Service. The president and secretary will be representing the club at this meeting. The next club services meeting will be held at 6 p.m. on Sunday, the 12th September, and the meeting, fellowship and dinner is being hosted by Rotarian Shiv Kumar and Anne Vinita. The next weekly meeting will be held on Thursday, 16th September. Mr. Mohit Saxena, who is a program director of Satya Skilling Academy, an organization that believes in bringing about a transformative, sustained and irreversible change in the lives of youth, will be addressing us. The details of the program will be circulated shortly. Well, that's the announcements for the week. Thank you.
Thank you, Nanda. Thank you very much. So without further ado, I'd like to get our AG, past President Sushila, to introduce Nisha Millet to us, please.
Thank you, Vinod. Nisha, welcome to Rotary Bangalore Cantonment. When I kind of Googled, what I saw was, don't worry, swim happy. I thought that was wonderful. Personally, I've tried many times to learn to swim and I haven't succeeded. So it's just, it was really very nice and very inspiring to look at, to watch many of your videos and your interactions. It was really nice to see all of that. Nisha has been a senior national champion for 11 years, all the way from 1994 to 2005. She has won more than 600 gold medals at the state, national, and international level. She has represented India at the World Swimming Championship in 1998 and 2004, and the Asian Games in 1998. But the big one is that she was the first Indian, not first Indian woman, but the first Indian to qualify for swimming at the Olympics in 2000, the 200-meter freestyle at the Sydney Olympics in 2000. And that's just fabulous. She also holds a distinction of having won the highest number of individual medals by any Indian athlete at a national event, and that's 14 gold medals at the Manipur National Games. So we have someone absolutely phenomenal amongst us. Nisha, welcome here. And I just want to say, so, she's won many, many, many awards, the Arjuna Award, Rajyotsava Award, of course, the Indo-American Young Achievers Award, the Ekalavya Award, and also the Prime Minister's Award for Best Sportswoman at the National Games for 2 years, 1997 and 99. She currently, after she kind of finished with her active competitive swimming, she then set up with her husband Nisha Millet's Academy, Swimming Academy. And over these 17 or so years, they have actually trained up something like 8,000 swimmers. And what she has brought into this academy is an international methodology, which includes a holistic view of how you look at training swimmers, not just plain vanilla swimming. So she's done something very, very phenomenal. And I believe her aspiration is to see many, many Olympians come out of all of this. So she has two young children, twins, girls. I think one of them aspires to be an Olympian. The other says, I'll be happy sitting at home and just watching my sister win. So so welcome again, and all yours.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
What an accomplished personality, Nisha. Over to you. We want to hear you. Okay.
Thanks so much. It's great to be here today and to see all the youngsters, all the little ones who come in to listen as well. So thank you so much, Rotary Club. Not many people know that I was actually in in school. I did a little bit. I was at the Interact for a little while. And of course, I was hardly in school. I was always training. So let me just share briefly my story of how I got from a young kid who was actually terrified of the water to ultimately representing India at swimming at the Olympics, and then coming in and setting up my own academy. I had a near drowning experience at the age of 5 years. So I was just playing with some friends, and by mistake, someone knocked me into the pool. It was a tiny little pool at a friend's house, and the water was just above my head, but obviously I didn't know how to swim. I was only 5. I went down. My dad came and pulled me out, and that was enough to get me really, really scared of any kind of water body. So pool, in those days we lived in Chennai, so even going to the beach used to scare me. So I had a fair bit of hydrophobia, and I stayed far away from any kind of swimming pool till 1991. It was a hot Chennai summer, and we had our summer holidays, and the pool was we had a pool in our area about just 1 kilometer away from home. And my dad said, come on, it's such a fun thing to do. It's so hot. What better way than getting enrolled in some swimming classes? So he said, let's try and get over that fear. So he took me, promising, that would be great fun. Unfortunately for me, we had a teacher who didn't really know much about swimming. So the first day, instead of teaching you how to blow bubbles or how to float, she actually took us and pushed us into the deep end of the pool. And for somebody who already had a fear, I panicked, I went under, and then she pulls you to the side, and I got out crying, and I told my dad, that's it, I don't want to swim anymore. And it was finally my dad who said, Nisha, I've paid 100 rupees. And, in the early 90s, 100 rupees was a lot of money to a young kid. So he said, finish the class and then we'll see how it goes. So I went through the 2 weeks. I didn't really learn anything. In fact, I was still as scared. That's when my dad realized maybe the way they're teaching me is wrong. And since he is quite a good swimmer himself, he would just take me into the pool, throw some coins on the floor, make me dive in and get it. So first he made me really enjoy the water and have fun. So I started losing the fear of the water, and I would in fact drag my sister and my mother as well. And we would all go over and, have a good time and get in the water, just enjoy ourselves. So after a couple of weeks, I started getting quite confident in the water, and I saw a team training nearby. And I went up to the coach there and I said, can I join in this swimming team? And he said, you need to be able to swim a few laps of the pool before I let you join. So that was actually the beginning of my story, asking my dad, some of his friends to help me improve. And finally, when I did those few laps, I went there and spoke to the coach and, begged him to let me join the team. And like they say, the rest was history. From the age of 9.5, all the way till I retired when I was 24, a good 15 years of, it was a lot of training. I would say we start off at 4:30 in the morning, wake up, have a glass of ragi malt or banana, something very healthy, jump into the car, go to the pool. My parents would always accompany my sister and me. My sister also took up swimming because she's an asthmatic. And they said, since your sister's anyway swimming, go along and it'll help strengthen your lungs. So she also started swimming with me. So 5:15, we were in the pool. 5:30, we were in the water. We'd swim between 5 to 8 kilometers in the morning. And then, we were so hungry by the end of that, we would just eat some idli sambar or a sandwich, or some small breakfast in the car on our way to school. We didn't get to miss school. We got to come in slightly late if our practice went a little late. So in school, it was quite tough because you're already quite tired. So paying attention, trying to finish your homework in the lunch breaks so that you have time later on. So this is what we would do, finish a whole day of schoolwork, get back home, just have a quick bite, some snacks, and we're back in the pool again for another 2.5 hour workout. So we do typically around 16 kilometers a day, and we do this 6 days a week. So this was quite difficult, and to a young kid, you really had to have some kind of passion, some kind of dream that you were chasing in order to do this. So what helped for me was at a very young age, I told you 1991, I learned how to swim. In 1992, I was watching the Barcelona Olympics, and I saw this amazing athlete called Mark Spitz, and he was winning, Matt Biondi. He was winning medals in the butterfly events. I just saw him diving into the pool, like a dolphin. And I just thought, wow, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. I want to be at the Olympics. And that's how my dream was born. And I think the best gift that my parents could give me was they never laughed at me. Immediately, they just hold on for 1 second. 1 second. Sorry about that. My kids were at the door. So I had to just speak to them.
No problem.
So I mentioned, after choosing to one day represent India at the Olympics, I was very, very focused. I had a picture of the Olympic rings taped to the side of my bed. And every morning when I wake up and I felt I'm too tired, I'm doing this again, and you're doing this 6 days a week for many, many years, I remembered that this is why I want to swim. I want to get to the Olympics one day. And my parents were there every step of the way. My sister was there. It became like a fun family activity. We talked swimming, we ate swimming, we slept swimming, we watched videos. In those days, we didn't have computers, but we try and get those VHS tapes of all the swimming events, try and watch what the world champions are doing. And before long, my sister and me started both competing. And the best part for me was racing. I used to love to race. I used to enjoy the competition. And something my dad always told me was, forget about how tall your competitor is. Is it a boy or a girl? So even in practice, I didn't care if I was racing a boy or a girl. I didn't look at their age. I just wanted to beat everybody in the pool. I wanted to be the fastest. And it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of sacrifices. So I don't remember going for many birthday parties. I was in bed after, 16 kilometers a day. You don't have energy for much else. So I would be in bed at 9 p.m., 4:30 wake up calls. And we did this for many years, and more than my wins, I think we had a lot of losses where, I missed qualifying for the nationals once. I remember one year went all the way for my first swimming meet, out of the country. And in India, I was the national champion. And I came third. And I was quite upset with that. So other people were so thrilled that, wow, Nisha got a bronze. But to me, I took it very personally, saying, why can't I get that gold medal? So I was always pretty self-motivated, really. I think for a sports person, the motivation really has to come from within. There's no way that you can push a child or insist that they do something. So my parents always told me, the day you stop enjoying your swimming, that's the day that you can stop. You can quit your swimming career. But I really enjoyed it. I loved everything about it. And a lot of people think swimming is a individual sport because we race on our own. We win. We stand on the victory block and take the medal on our own. But frankly, it really is a team sport. I would not have made it if it wasn't for this amazing community that we have, coaches, teammates, support staff, and of course my parents as well who are there. And I remember from a very young age, my dad always saying that, if you believe in something, hard, and you believe that you can do it, anything is possible. So in 1996, it came time for my first Olympic qualifiers. I was only 14, and all three of us, three women who are, the top in their events in the country, three of us all failed to meet the Olympic qualifying mark. And then the federation got to choose, and they chose somebody else, saying, Nisha's still only 14, she has many years to go. And, that was quite devastating for me. As a 14-year-old, I wasn't really, I was so intent on making the Olympics. It was a tough moment where I remember my mother sitting me down, and I was crying and crying. And she said, the only way that you can guarantee yourself a position in 2000 is to qualify, and then you have no chance of somebody else being sent. You will be sent because you've made the qualifying time. So I would say 1996 to 2000 was very, very important 4 years. They say, the Olympics isn't once in 4 years, it's every single day. So those 4 years, I did whatever it took. We moved from Chennai to Bangalore. We moved here because Karnataka has the best swimming teams, the best academies, the best swimmers to train with. So I really upped my training intensity, competitions. I got a scholarship very close to the Olympic qualifiers in 2000. I got a scholarship to go and train in Australia. So this really helped me, because at one point my coach said, I've done as much as I could, but you're still slightly off that qualifying mark. I feel by you going out of the country, going to Australia, that will really make that big difference between you, being so close to the qualifying mark and just missing it every time. So I would say the most, one of the fondest memories for me was going in for my Olympic qualifying event. I was meant to swim in the evening. This was in Australia, and I just had a few months to go for the Olympics. And I could still remember the 1996, the kind of the loss, how it felt to miss out, to watch the Olympics happen when you're sitting at home. And in the morning, I said, I'm just going to have a good fun swim. I'm going to just do my best. And in the evening, when I make it to the finals, I'll really try for that qualifying time. Maybe it's because of the fact I took that pressure off myself. I just went back to, why am I doing this? I love swimming. Let me go out there and have a great race. So I remember every part of that race. When I dived into the pool, they say you feel like you're in the zone. Everything falls into place. You dive into the water. You do long strokes. You do that flip turn. And when I finished my 200-meter freestyle event, which is my main event, I could see, first thing I do before even looking at my timing is look at my parents. My dad hadn't come to Australia with us because it was very expensive. He had to stay back and work. But my mother and my sister were in the sands, and they were so excited. They were jumping up and down, and I was wondering why they're so excited. I had won my heat, but only when you get to the finals in the evening, you have a chance to win a medal. And then they kept pointing at the touchpads with a scoreboard where you can see your timing. And when I looked over, I noticed that I had, in fact, beaten the qualifying time of 2 minutes 7 and had gone 2 minutes 6 seconds. So I think one of the best moments of my life, being able to call my dad, who had sacrificed so much. My parents had even sold their house in Chennai and put all the money, the funds into my training. So I think as an 18-year-old, you understand the gravity of how much people have invested in you. And it became their dream as well. It was a collective dream. And calling my dad up to say, Dad, guess what? I made the qualifying time. And he was so excited. So yes, 2000 was a fabulous year. I got the Arjuna Award from the President of India as well in that year. So another great moment where a lot of people think that, we get excited about the gold medals, but that's somewhere in a bag under my bed somewhere in my parents' house. But what really stands out to you is, going to Rashtrapati Bhavan, standing in front of the president of the country, him shaking your hand and giving you a national award, then being able to introduce him to your parents, when we are walking around the room. And it's such a great honor. And being at the 2000 Olympics, I'm sure a lot of you would have watched the Tokyo Olympics, and we did very, very well. It was the same. It was the kind of atmosphere was excellent. In fact, obviously, in 2000, there were so many spectators. The Australians gave us a very warm welcome. And, I got to rub shoulders with the greats in sports, whether it's Muhammad Ali, who walked into the dining hall where we were there, whether it's Leander Paes, who is one of my personal favorites, 7-time Olympian. So Leander, who's now a good friend, it was the first time I was meeting him, and he's an Olympic medalist already, and he was the captain of our team. So I can just remember this, the kind of excitement going up, shaking his hand, and he knew all about me. He knew I was one of the youngest there. He encouraged me, gave me a few, bits of feedback, and a little bit of a few tips I could do, deal with the stress and deal with the pressure that comes along with being at the Olympics. So an amazing Olympics, right? From winning my heat, I didn't make it to the semi-finals, but a great, honor to wear the country's flag. Go and watch we watched the men's hockey team compete. I watched Gopi Chand play the badminton matches, and the excitement when Karnam Malleshwari, who was a weightlifter, she won the only medal, a bronze medal in weightlifting in 2000. So an amazing Olympics, something I'll never forget. And like they say, my story doesn't have a fairy tale ending. 4 years later, I tried for my second Olympics, and I narrowly missed out there. In 2002, I had a very serious back surgery. I was diagnosed with a benign tumor on my backbone, so I got that taken out. And I think the fact that I had taken 2 years away from really serious training because I was trying to recover and with my back problem and the surgery, that obviously, 2 years is a long time for a sports person. So I did give it my best shot, missed out in 2004. And that's when I decided, why don't I give back to my sport? It was becoming very tough financially for my parents. So that's when I realized, okay, I want to still continue in the sport. And instead of becoming a coach, and there's so many good coaches already in this country, I felt because of the kind of learning that I had, the fact that I was almost put off from, enjoying swimming or the sport of swimming because I had one bad teacher. And it was only thanks to my dad putting in the time and effort. And that was the reason I, number one, got into the pool, learned to love the water, started swimming, and then ultimately went to the Olympics. So I said, if you can teach children and adults how to enjoy the water first and then learn, that would make so much of a difference. And you'd see Olympians come out of that. But on a larger scale, you would impact a lot of people because swimming is a life-saving skill. So you're teaching somebody something where they can, on a holiday, they can jump off the boat and swim safely around the boat and get back in, or they can go snorkeling or scuba diving, or they could save themselves, most importantly. So that's how my transition from being a swimmer to a swim teacher started in 2004. And now it's been about 17 years. And yeah, now we've taught much more than 10, 12,000 people over the years. And we hope to keep it going. So yeah, just a brief insight on how my career went about. And I'd love to make this more interactive and ask any questions that you want to, whether it's my swimming career, whether it's my current academy. I'd love to hear from everybody who's on the Zoom call today.
Wonderful, Nisha. Absolutely brilliant. What an amazing journey and what a wonderful story that you had for us. Really inspiring. Absolutely inspiring. I'm sure there are a lot of questions that's going to come up. I'm sure there are a lot of Rotarians who obviously know that they can't take part in the Olympics anymore. But there are a few youngsters here who have absolutely a lot of aspirations. Yeah. May I open the floor to some questions? If you can use their raise hand symbol and let me know. Somebody had a question, please go ahead and ask. Jasveer, you have a question, please unmute and ask. Jasveer, you switched off the video. All right, let me get started, Nisha. I just want to have a quick question. What is that one shift from being a great athlete to a super athlete? I mean, we are seeing so many great athletes in India, wonderful athletes, but they never get to that stage where you got to in terms of Olympics or anything. They just die off at that one stage. That's one part of my question. The other is handling failure. I think every sports person has to go through failure. I mean, you have gone through it also. I mean, it's easy to say that you have to be determined, come out of it, do that. Is there something that you in your mind, you had something that really overcome failure? I have two questions to ask.
Two questions. Yeah, definitely. I'll answer your second one first. I think when it comes to failure, athletes are taught on a regular basis how to deal with it. Because especially in a sport like swimming, we don't get if you're playing football, maybe in practice, you'd score a goal and you'd feel some sort of excitement. But for us, it's just swimming laps and laps, getting very, very tired, swimming, looking at a black line on the floor. And you really have to understand why you're doing this. So I think whenever I've faced very tough times or, failures, whether it might be losing a medal or sometimes even winning a medal and not doing my best time, to me was a failure. And one is you have to learn from the mistake. You have to take that time to absorb it. I would cry. I'm quite a crier. So I would cry. I would be upset. Sometimes I'd be crying in my goggles because I was very upset. So I would feel it and then say, okay, reflect on it and say, what can I do better? I have to be able to do better. So at no point did I ever think I'm going to give up. That was never in my train of thoughts. It's always, okay, I failed miserably. So how can I get back up there? What can I do? I discuss this with my coach and my parents. So I think have your inner circle of people who you trust, who give you good counsel. And, as a 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old, you really look to those people. So if you are surrounded by a good team, that's all it takes. So they would, pump me up. They would say, this is what you could do better. We'll be there for you, but you have to put in that extra effort. And I think you have to give, you said, what is that one quality? You have to give it, not just 100%, but 110%. So whenever you do have those failures, think about why you're still doing this. So even when I've had really bad, back pain, and I was, post my surgery, I was being wheeled out of the hospital in a wheelchair. I never thought I would get back in the pool. It seemed like such a tough task, but I had that dream of, I want to try for that second Olympics. Even if I don't make it, I will try. And so I think I was very proud of the fact that I got to the Olympic qualifiers. I swam and I narrowly missed out. So you have to look at failures as, a learning, and take those beatings that come with failure, but learn from them. Don't wallow in misery and, be depressed for days. So for the kids out there, when you don't do well in an exam, you have so much of your life ahead of you. You have to keep the bigger picture in mind. Feel upset, talk about it with your parents, cry about it, and then the next day wake up with a renewed sense of purpose and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And, you talked about why don't we make it to the next level. You'll have seen this Olympics. We have a lot of athletes who actually won medals. We came back with 7 medals, which is, a historic achievement for Indian athletes. And the biggest shift to me, I think, is the mental training. Earlier, all of us we did so much of physical training. Yes, even there we could have improved our levels if we trained abroad more. But I think the biggest shift is now everyone's working with sports psychologists or counselors. So I'm actually doing a counseling course where I can now counsel young athletes, young teenagers, or even, elite athletes or master's level athletes on the very things you're talking about, how to stay focused, how to define your goals, how to, work through any issue. And because you do that, like I only had the dream of getting to the Olympics and I managed to get there. But if you look at an Abhinav Bindra, or you look at, Neeraj Chopra winning a historic second individual gold, they dreamt of winning that medal. And you can see that confidence. I don't know if you watched his javelin final, but, everyone knew that Neeraj Chopra is going to win it, because you looked at his face, even the world champion, somebody who everyone was pegged as the favorite. Neeraj looked much more confident than that. So I think it's a great thing that kids are able to watch it. And I don't think we should, when I tell my kids about athletes, I don't talk about Michael Phelps. Yes, he's one of the greatest Olympians of all time, but I tell them, look at Indians, so I made them watch, Saina Nehwal's movie, and now they're playing badminton. They keep saying, I want to be like Saina. They watch Sindhu win her second individual gold medal. So we have such great role models here. We need to learn that, number one, it's a mental game. So get our kids to be tough from a young age. When my kids come back and their hands are tired, they've had a tough workout, and they say, my hands are tired. I said, they're supposed to be tired. And that's because you're working out hard and they're going to be stronger. And pain is normal. You have to, if it's very, very bad pain, we'll, take a break. But otherwise, you have to push through the pain. And, even when they lose, I'm not the type who would shout at them. We'd talk about it and then we'd say, okay, but, losing is part of life. At the same time, we want to try and be up there in the middle. So we need to teach our kids the winning mindset. So to me, sometimes when you have an event where, at a more senior level, where everybody is getting medals or everybody is getting participation certificates, that to me doesn't give these kids enough of a motivation to excel. At a younger age is great. When you go for a sports day, primary and junior school, all the kids get certificates, they all get medals, that's fine. But as you get older, we need to teach our kids that it is a competitive world out there. We have to put our best foot forward. And at the end of the day, it's the people who are motivated, disciplined, and very, very hardworking. Those, I think, are the 3, qualities that you need. And there is absolutely no shortcut to success.
Yeah, it was quite amazing to see that Neeraj Chopra throw. The minute he threw, I mean, it's such an amazing video to see. He didn't even look at his throw. He has turned back and is already raising and has already won the gold medal. Wonderful. I think mental condition is, like you rightly said, is the most important part, as important as physical conditioning. That's the shift that has happened. Hey, Sushila, over to you. You have a question.
Yeah, Nisha, on this mental training, mental strength, How is mental training for sports different from anything else?
It is very similar. It's just that I think for younger kids especially, they have to deal with failure and a lot of pressure at a very young age. Now, yes, there is academic pressure as well, but it's a little more difficult when you're standing in front of a huge audience. You have the eyes of people on you. You know, when you're doing an exam, you're sitting with a big group of your friends in a classroom together and doing it. So there's the sense of everybody being in it together. But when you're an athlete, I remember for many, many years, the feeling of being somewhat on your own, especially when you're competing. So that is something that scares a lot of young athletes, I feel. They train very well. They enjoy the team element, the socializing, you know, and then the second they go to a competition where it's just them on the block, it becomes very scary. And a big part of it is also talking to the parents, because I feel parents put a lot of undue pressure on the kids without knowing it, you know. Some might be a little overbearing, some might be trying to, you know, live out their dreams of their kids. But I'll just take the, you know, I'm not saying my parents did everything right, but for sure, one good thing that they did was, number one, communicate with me all the time. And when I was older, sometimes I would say, you know what, I don't want to talk about swimming for a few days because it's getting a bit too much for me. And, you know, I know what I'm doing. I've been in this for long enough. So that good communication where they trusted me as an athlete saying, okay, she knows what she's doing. I did work with a sports psychologist, which was very helpful. You know, in India, unfortunately, they have this mistaken notion that if you go to a psychologist for anything, not just sports, that is something wrong with you. But it's the opposite, you know, just like how you would go to a doctor to make sure that you're fine. Similarly, for a sports person, you know, tending to your mental health is very, very important. And not only while you're swimming, even when you're retiring. I know that the toughest, you know, part of of an athlete's life is when they retire and they have to get into normal life, you know, again. But for me, I think what mental training, where it's different with athletes is you really learn how to focus well. Focus, learning how to set your goals. And this is something that will translate to the rest of your life, which is why I feel all kids or even adults need to play some kind of sport. It could be an individual sport, it could be a team sport. I prefer team sports actually, especially with my kids. I'm letting them play different sports, you know, have fun. They're only 7 years old. But the lessons that sports teaches you will stay with you for life. So, you know, even the fact that I followed a routine, I was very disciplined. It helped me when I gave birth to twins and I had to manage them on my own, you know. So those lessons really stay with you for life. So I think the mental training that you do from a very young age, when you are, you know, when you're older, I think it pays even more dividends. But as an athlete, I don't know if many of you have heard of this Olympics. There were two big names, Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka. Both said that they struggled a lot with mental health. They had, you know, Simone Biles, who is one of the greatest gymnasts ever. She came in with, being the favorite. Everyone expected her to walk all over the competition. But suddenly, after the first rotation, she felt like she just wasn't herself. And she decided to pull out. You know, this is pulling out of, after 4 years of work, she's pulling out of the Olympics where she has a chance of a medal. But she said, I was just mentally not there. I didn't want to let down my team because the team went on and finally got a silver medal. And she said, they can do it without me, but my mental health's very important. So it's good that athletes are talking about this now. Naomi Osaka missed out, you know, in Japan. She was a big star. She lit the torch and they just presumed she would get a medal. And when she lost early on, there was so much criticism. You know, similarly with one of our athletes called Vinesh Phogat, she had a very bad injury in the last Olympics. She came in here as one of the favorites and she didn't perform up to expectations. But she said, if Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka can talk about mental health, in India, we also need to understand that I was going through a lot. I did have a lot of stress. I did have a lot of pressure because you never really understand the kind of pressure till you're at the Olympics, you know. It's a different kind of pressure, especially now. There's social media, people putting things on your feed. So this is where I think mental training will help you block out these distractions. I know the top athletes switched off their phones a few days before, or they had a separate number where only family or close friends would call. And they just disconnected themselves with the outside world and the pressure. And that ultimately is what helps, you know, like you mentioned, Neeraj Chopra, you could see on his face that he had 100% confidence. There was not even 1%. If you let that 1% of doubt creep in, that could be the end of your race or your event. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Abigail, George, please unmute and ask the
Yes.
question.
Hi, ma'am. How did you keep pushing yourself to become an Olympian? How did you have the energy to do it?
Yeah, that's a good question, Abigail. I didn't wake up every morning feeling like I wanted to go to the pool, right? But two things. One is I had a lot of intrinsic motivation, what they call intrinsic motion. So it came from within. I wasn't doing it because my parents told me so. I was doing it purely because I really, really wanted to get to the Olympics. So when I had a bad time, sometimes my parents would say, "You're looking pretty tired. You want to sleep?" And I would say, "No, I want to do this." And what I say is I had this fear of failure. I didn't want to fail. And when I say fail, I meant I always wanted to reach my goals. I would write down my goals. I would have a 3-month goal, a 6-month goal, a long-term goal, which is get to the Olympics. And if I didn't make it, I put that pressure on myself saying, I need to work harder. There's something I'm not doing. So it has to really come from within where you need to define this is what I want to do and give it your all. And there will be days and there will be a lot of times there'll be people who tell you can't do it, right? This is so common. I know nowadays with social media, the second you put something up, people are laughing and making, telling jokes or, saying there's no way you can do that. I would say the best thing I could tell all the young kids out there today is what you say to yourself in your head holds the greatest power. So it's much more potent than what anybody says around you. So if you keep telling yourself, I can do it, I'm going to be a champion, I'm going to win this, or I'm going to achieve my goal, then nothing anybody else says will really affect you. Sometimes you might get a little upset. You might question yourself a little bit, but when you talk to yourself, it has to be positive. It has to be, you have to push yourself. Nobody's going to do it for you. Reading self-help books and motivation books, that's all great. But at the end of the day, maybe listening to athletes who've been there, done that, they've failed many times, that actually helps more, where you realize life is not all easy. Like I mentioned, I qualified for 1 Olympics, but I missed 2, right? So you learn from your failures and you take it and you turn that into a positive and you keep pushing yourself. And it's something that you need to keep doing for the rest of your life. It's not just sports, right? If you have your 10th standard board exams coming up, or now you guys are all studying from home, right? Studying from home is incredibly boring. I know these online classes, all the kids hate it, right? They're struggling to, pay attention. There's so many distractions, or you might be watching YouTube on the side. But then you have to think, why are you doing this? At the end of the day, you are the one who's going to, one day get into a good college, or you have a dream of, becoming an actor. Whatever your passion is, you have to put that effort in and just don't take no for an answer. I was so, persistent. I didn't care what people said. I remember once I had chicken pox and people said, you got chicken pox, so don't go anywhere near the pool. But I said, I have to train. I was so excited and I said, no, I have to. So finally, just in my own building, I would just run up and down the stairs, do step climbing just to keep fit. So you just have to do what it takes to get to the top.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anybody else have any questions? Sudhakar, you had a question. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sudhakar. I had the good fortune of knowing some of your swimming colleagues, Meghna Narayan.
Yes, of course.
Shitaranjan.
Yes.
Listening to your story was almost like listening to theirs.
Yeah.
The kind of sacrifice the parents, etc., did.
Yeah.
Basically, nowadays, I think you see a lot of children kind of gravitate from one kind of a sports to another, depending on how a particular person has performed in that particular sports or how much. And in the recent past, I think it's the economics, in terms of how much money they might be able to make in that sports, and such things seem to dictate the interest of a particular kid in terms of which sports to take up. So in such a scenario, how many kids really go to take part in swimming as a sport or a game? And have you seen any basic change and shift in the kind of attitudes of children?
That's a great question, Sudhakar. I feel things are changing for the better now. If this was 10 years ago, almost every single boy I spoke to would say, I want to be Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar, It was a no-brainer because they see the fame, the glamour, they want to be the next cricket god, and they're looking at the endorsement deals. But now if you look at it, somebody like a Sindhu or a Sania Mirza, Mary Kom, or now a Neeraj Chopra have similar kind of endorsement deals. But, while they are splashed all over the papers, it is a long, hard road to the top. So kids need to understand that. And I feel at a young age, we need to expose them to different sports. So before they're about between the ages of 6 to 10, let them take part in different sports and see what they have an affinity towards. Like, I would love my kids to be swimmers, but I know that it's, they may choose some different sports. Right now, one of my daughters likes gymnastics, the other one's enjoying badminton, and they both know how to swim, but there's no telling what sport they'll pick up. So the idea is try and expose them, especially to, I say, the three fundamental sports: swimming, running, and gymnastics. Very important basic sports that will help with other sports as well. Above the age of 10, it's then up to the parents, talking to the child, seeing what they want to do, seeing what's feasible to do, because once you start, there is no turning back. You need to put those time, the hours, the sacrifices in, and always speak to the teacher or the coach who's working with the child, because sometimes they will give you an added insight. I know so many times parents come to me and I tell them, your child may not be winning medals, but they have a great feel of the water, where you can see they're very natural in the water. And that's something that many years later will actually hold them in good stead if they have good technique. It's not all about winning medals at the age of 9, 10. Sometimes those athletes who do that, they're not winning medals at the age of 20, 25. So you want that longevity of your career. So allow kids to enjoy the sport, play different sports when they're younger, transition them into slightly more serious training when they're 10, 11, 12. And when they're in their teens and then even early 20s and 30s as well now, that's when you're already talking about professional sport. So they need to start moving. There has been a shift away from the traditional sports, cricket. Now athletics is the biggest thing. We've got even a para Olympics. We've got another javelin medal. So there's this funny meme going on where everybody's standing now at shops trying to buy javelins. So now my message to the parents out there is, don't go with whatever is trending currently. It's all about your child and what sport they excel at. I know for me, I have zero eye-hand coordination. So my dad had a dream of me being the next Steffi Graf, but I never touched a tennis racket. And if I did, I would be miserable at it. I mean, I've done it now at a much older age. So I would say, see what your child is doing well in. And if you manage their career well, the funds will come in. Right now, there is quite a good support system being set up. There are organizations like Olympic Gold Quest. There is, JSW Sports. There's so many people who are putting in money into athletes. The Kalo India Games, where if you win a medal at a school level, national school level, funds come in from the government directly to the athlete. So these things help, where unlike what happened with us, and my parents put in something like 70, 80 lakhs into our career. And they sold their house and they put that money in. And I think maybe in prize money in total, I might have got 2 or 3 lakhs, in those days. So it is, for them, they never regretted having, the fact that I went to the Olympics. But I asked my dad, what if I didn't make it? Would you have been dedicated? Would you have put as much? He said, yes, I would. He did it for both of us, my sister and me. So the parents really do have to sacrifice a lot. Now, as a mom, I realize, just what kind of sacrifice the parents have to make. So the funds will come later. Right now, it's about getting the kids to enjoy the sport, that longevity in the sport, making sure they don't get injured. You can have a great sports science team that will ensure these kids stay in that sport. And, up to the age of 14, 15, if they do change sports, it's fine. But after that, once you've defined whatever you need to specialize in, you need to stick to that, like you said.
Any other questions?
I have a question, Vinod.
Yes, go ahead, please, Shiv.
Nisha, we heard that one of your daughter is following your footsteps. I want to be a swimmer. The question is, how does she cope with the pressure of being Nisha's daughter?
Right now, they're just learning things about their mom. Till now, once I remember about 3-4 years ago where they said something like, I'm sure dad can beat you in swimming. And I was like, no, absolutely not. He can beat me in other sports, but not in swimming. So they just thought of me as mom. But the good thing about growing up in a sports household, I think, is I talk about the Olympics as if it's very normal. To me, I made it so normal for them that they feel like my mom can go to the Olympics. She's got a bit of a tummy. She's put on some weight. If she can do it, surely I can do it too. So the possibility that we can do it, watching Neeraj Chopra, telling them stories about our Indian athletes. So we need to put that dream into our youngsters' heads that they can do whatever they want to. And you see it in different sports, right? Not just the endurance sports. You have sprint sports, you have skill sports. And our Indians are able to perform. So I think when they get older, I think they will feel that pressure, especially if they get into swimming, because even my sister as well, still, I think 20 years later, still has some national records in place, So then you do come from a swimming family, there will be some pressure, but I think we've taught them, or we're teaching them, I'd rather say, teaching them how to deal with that. And I love exposing kids to competition. And if they lose, we talk about it and they learn that, especially when you have twins, it's very difficult. I remember for their sports day, their first sports day in school, one made it to the podium. She came third, and the other one didn't make it to the podium. And then she said, but I was born at the same time, and she's my twin sister. And if she gets a medal, I get a medal. I said, no, it doesn't work that way. So teaching kids that, success and failure goes hand in hand. And, making it fun for them. At the end of the day, kids will not stay in the sport unless it's fun. So that's why I'm not pushing swimming onto them. I've made sure that while they learn how to swim, I'm more, interested in the fact that they can stay afloat we jumped off recently when we were in Mangalore. We jumped into the ocean and they swam around the boat with me and they were so comfortable. Now that gave me much more pride than them winning a medal, because the fact that they could save themselves, they enjoyed the water, they were splashing around with their mom. So yeah, make sports fun, and the winning will just come, it will come on its own. But putting too much pressure at a young age is not needed. I never started, a lot of kids now started swimming at 6 and 7. I learned to swim at 9 and started winning only by 10 or 11. And my sister much later, she went on to win medals only at the age of 14, 15. And at one point she went for the world championship. So, every child is different. We need to give them that respect, respect their feelings, talk to them about it. And that's the only way. But yeah, hopefully we will have one swimmer in the family at least.
Great. Caleb, Edwin, do you have a question? You want to unmute and ask? Yes, go ahead, Caleb. We can't hear you. Caleb? Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, ma'am. I'm Caleb. I'm 11. I like many sports. And how do I narrow down to one sport? And in this lockdown, how do I pursue in the sport I like? How do I know that which sport?
Let me ask you one question. What is the sport that you dream about the most in the night?
Cricket.
There you go. So it's that one sport. So you might be good at badminton or table tennis or football, but the sport that you go to sleep thinking about, you put posters on your wall, you keep watching the matches, you keep thinking about it in your head, that is the sport you should think about pursuing. So, speak to your coach, tell your parents that, yes, I am interested. And because you're only 11, you can still play other sports. It's only when you get a little older and you get very serious, then you could be really, really focused. So Rahul Dravid is a good friend of mine, and both his kids used to swim with me. He used to put them in different sports, right? They used to swim, they used to be good in athletics. And only when they got older, when they get towards their teenage years, they started becoming serious about cricket. So don't worry, make sure you enjoy yourself and watch a lot of interviews, whether it's Sachin Tendulkar, whether it's Virat Kohli. One of my good friends is right now in the IPL with the cricketers. He's right now there. He's a sports doctor. And he was telling me that the one thing that's very, very important is all these people who are at the IPL, who are the top cricketers in the country. The most important thing is they had that dream that one day I'm going to play for the country. So that was the most important dream. So if you have that dream, there's nothing and nobody who can stop you. Speak to your parents, tell them how passionate you are. And the great thing about cricket, right, Caleb, is you can play it in your house, right? You can play it on the road in front of you. You just need your bat and your ball and some wickets and you're good to go. So you can still practice the skills. You can look in the mirror, practice your strokes, right? You can work on becoming stronger. You can do sit-ups and push-ups. You can run up the stairs. You can do skipping. So even if there's a lockdown, it doesn't mean that you have to just chill out the whole day, watch TV, play some video games. You can go out there and you need to be active. Okay. If you do that, I'm sure in a couple of years' time, we might see you one day on TV wearing that India shirt and playing for India.
Caleb, you're the next Sachin Tendulkar or Rahul Dravid? Which one are you choosing?
I don't know, sir.
Okay, we'll decide quickly. Olivia, you have a question. Let's take a last question, Olivia.
Actually, now since we can't go to school, now it's like my favorite sports is running, and we can't do that. There's not much space at home to run, so that neither can't I go out to run. So that's what should I do?
You don't have a small space in your apartment or around your house that you can practice?
No, it's just a small living room
Okay.
and just 2 bedrooms.
Okay, so what you can do is keep fit then, Olivia. What you can do is, even with my kids, we in the lockdown, in fact, we all had COVID as well. So, we couldn't move out of our house. So what we would do is just do really fast walking. And remember, even though we had COVID, we made sure to keep active. We'd walk from our back door to the kitchen and back. And we do that for 2 kilometers. We put some music on and we talk to each other and we just keep moving. So the main thing is to keep active, so that your muscles don't get weak. You want to keep your muscles strong. What you can do at home is you can watch a few exercise videos. You can do skipping. You can do stuff. You don't have to use weights. You're too young to use any kind of weights. You can just keep fit. You can do spot jogging. In one place, you can do high knees where you lift up your knees really high. You can do jumping jacks. You can practice push-ups and sit-ups, right? So the main thing is to get fit and keep fit. And then you have a long time. When you do get back to school, then you get a chance to be on your sports field. You get a chance to run, right? And when things are a little more safe and you're able to go back to school, or even when things open up a bit more, take your mom or dad, make them stand there and you can just run on your road. So I used to make my kids do that, put their sports shoes on, and we just run like 100-meter sprints. And we do it, sometimes like mid-afternoon when there's not much traffic, or sometimes early in the morning when there's not many people. So be safe always go with a parent or an elder, and just have to keep yourself active. Don't worry about the fact that you're at home, but don't just sit. So every half an hour, if you're doing studies, get up, do some exercise and go back. It could be a somersault or a handstand. You do handstands on the wall. Yeah. You can see a naughty smile. So just keep active and don't worry about your fitness too much, as you say.
Wonderful, Nisha. Really wonderful. Amazing. I mean, the kind of advice is simple advice you give. I mean, you're known to be a very, very simple person who really goes down to the roots of things. Wonderful to hear you speak. We run out of time. I'm going to ask Anne Hamsini to propose the formal vote. Suman, you had a question. Do you want to ask a quick question? Suman?
No.
Okay, I saw you raised hand. Sorry. Hamsini, can I request you to propose a formal vote of thanks?
Hi. Good evening to our special guest for the evening, inspiring Nisha Millet, dashing Rotarians and gorgeous Anns. It's indeed an honor and privilege to be asked to deliver the vote of thanks on this special occasion. I was privileged to watch Nisha train and swim along with her younger sister in the 90s in many events, as my niece Mayura Kumar was her colleague. The achievements of Nisha is nothing short of inspiring and outstanding. A successful sportsperson is one who has pushed against all odds to go beyond all sorts of challenges to reach the top. I am a witness to the strict regime and willpower of strenuous training in all weather conditions at unearthly hours. We have to be grateful for the way she has used her success to motivate and teach others to hone their talent as swimmers. My daughter and I were both hydrophobic. And yet again, Nisha managed to weave her magic and enchanted us to become mermaids with her winning smile. When youth are taught to include sport in their lives, it keeps their mind engaged in ensuring that the body stays active. It teaches respect, discipline, hard work, the 110% that Nisha spoke about, and how to handle success, face shortfalls, and all life's challenges. We are thankful to Nisha for being a mentor and continuing to inspire swimmers. On behalf of all of us at Rotary Club of Cantonment, Bangalore, I would like to wish her the very best in her future endeavors. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And hi to your daughter as well.
Thank you.
Yes.
A big round of applause for Nisha Millet from Rotary Bangalore Cantonment. Absolutely delight to have you at this meeting. We'd actually love to meet the Olympian in person, but unfortunately the COVID doesn't help us. Probably an occasion will come. Thank you once again for joining us. Thank you all for joining us this evening. And I adjourn today's meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.